Today's date. Hey everybody. Today on EON, expert on nothing. Today's rant is about Ted Johnson. Today is the Wednesday, the 5th of February, 2025. I know I'm a week late, but anyways, let's get to it. About a guy who went on a Boston, I believe, radio station. He was definitely on camera for, I believe, WEEI, but it was definitely a Boston station. His name is Ted Johnson. He played linebacker for the New England Patriots for 10 years. He had a good career, actually. Drafted in 1995 in the second round, 57th overall pick by Bill Parcells and the New England Patriots at the time. And he had a lot of career tackles compared to an average NFL player. And he had 100 tackles twice in 96 and 97. And he also had 78 and 04, which was the last year of his career, and he had 97 tackles in 1998 for the New England Patriots. He has one career interceptions, 11 and a half career sacks. Why am I mentioning him? Okay. He's announced his retirement July 28, 2005, which was right after the Patriots won their third Super Bowl in 4 years. Over their head coach, Bill Belichick at the time, and Tom Brady's third Super Bowl. He made a case last week when he said, I will give Tom Brady 60% of the credit, which is reasonable, of the New England Patriots winning all those Super Bowls. I believe more. That's my opinion. But at the same time, it's reasonable. It's not crazy to say. And then he says, I'll give 10% of the credit to Bill Belichick. Now, I know this one thing about what happened after Tom Brady retired and Bill Belichick makes it to one playoffs and they get blown out by the Bills and they gave up a touchdown every single drive that playoff game against the Bills. And he doesn't know how to build up Mac Jones. Looks like he doesn't know how to coach. The players are going crazy. They're not doing well. He did try to do some interesting things, putting Matt Patricia on the offensive staff and Joe Judge back to the defensive staff, even though he was never a defensive coach. He was a special teams and wide receiver coach for the Patriots all those years. And he gives 10%. So people come out of the woodworks and say, Bill Belichick did nothing. I have to say this about people, like when they say that. Like Ted Johnson had a great career. And I'm sure there's something to like him being sour with Bill Belichick and all that other stuff. Asante Samuel was sour. Years later, like he come out of the woodwork saying like it was Tom Brady the whole time. And guess what? I won't say that Tom Brady was not the main factor. I think he was. But we have to be reasonable when things you don't like somebody and something happens, like Scottie Pippen with Michael Jordan. It's like you should start saying he's a terrible player. Now he's starting to come around and say, me and Mike are not close, but I understand I needed Mike, and I'll take Mike as the first pick of the draft in any era, in any situation. And he's right. Let's start being reasonable here. Whatever the situation happened for you to not like a guy, just be reasonable and just be like, okay, this is ridiculous. I know I don't like the guy, but come on, like, he's the reason why. And obviously, if it's close with somebody, let's say Andy Reid and Bill Belichick, and then like Asante Samuel played for both, says Andy Reid's a better head coach than Bill Belichick. Okay, fine. I hear you. That's a little bit of like the tilting point of like you don't like him, you like the other guy. Okay, good. But if you just like say this guy's a terrible coach, this guy was a waste of space, he was irrelevant, it was all that guy and not that. It's just ridiculous. To me, like in sports, in football specifically, it's the way the team is built / head coach and the way the coach puts them together and the quarterback. I believe is 90% of the team, and you need the 10% to do their part. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell people if they're wrong when they say 20% you need the other people to do their part, get 80%. To me, it's I can't see anybody not understand at least 75% of the team is the quarterback and the head coach combined helping a team out, especially a dynasty like that. And I know Ted Johnson out of Colorado, like, I don't know, he definitely has something against Bill for all those years. But you retired after the third Super Bowl, and it was their third dynasty. I know they didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 years till the 2014 after, but they made the Super Bowl twice. They were in the conference championship game literally like 8, 9 years in a row or something like that. It was crazy. It was a crazy run after you retired. They were in the conference championship game against Indy 2 years later, where they people say they should have won when Indy came back in that '06 championship game. No one even noticed if you were there or not. And then a lot of the things were like there was an adjustment after the Brewski guys left with Ronnie and Brewski and Vrabel went to Kansas City, and all those guys on defense um, started leaving. And if you remember, there was about a year or two of an adjustment cycle, but then people started realizing, okay, they're not here either. Let's move on from them. I know they became more of an offensive team, and it was a drastic change of how they played. So I got to give them. But with Ted Johnson, there was nothing going on. I don't know if he wants attention, which he's getting attention from me, and good for him, or it's just like something's was sour. Like, be reasonable with these takes. Just because you don't like a guy and a guy you had a bad breakup with, even like people like have couples going on in the bad breakup. Stop saying the girl was ugly. You obviously married the girl, or you obviously dated the girl because you thought it was a cute girl. And then the guy too, like, oh, the guy was ugly. Like, no, he wasn't. Why is he ugly? You start saying stuff like vulgar things about the other part of the couple. You started the relationship because you felt there was something there. So something had to start. It wasn't like that the other person, both people won each other over for something. I don't understand this. It's like these people got to stop, and all these things in life. It's like, yes, the person might have been a loser during the relationship. Bill Belichick might have been a tough guy to play for because he was very like to the point, concise with stuff when he used to say things. He wasn't nice to the media a lot. That's true, which he wouldn't really answer questions very thoroughly. He would just be like straight to the point and not really sometimes not answer. Be like, oh, I'm not a footballologist, not a biologist. When he talked about the football and which like pretended he didn't know. I understand that, but we can't discredit guys for winning 6 Super Bowls. And I have to say this about guys who played for New England: when New England's first championship to New England's last championship, player coach, even a combined, I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Josh McDaniels, but in between as well, like he left as a head coach before, and they were successful without Josh McDaniels as well. I'm not sure Josh McDaniels was part of all 6 Super Bowls as far as being assistant, but I know he wasn't there in a couple of years when they were a great team. With other coaches, the only person that was there from 2001 straight to 2020, I'm not counting Ernie Adams being a scout. I'm talking about on the sidelines every single week that was on the roster was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You could say, well, Tom Brady was injured the whole season. But the point is that the reason why they won 6 Super Bowls was because they needed each other. And I say Tom Brady, yes, he was the main guy. Absolutely. And the minute he left, everything just fell apart. But we got to be reasonable here. Bill Belichick, to me, that dynasty was 30% him and like 60% Brady. And then you go, okay, you want to give credit to the 10%, to the Malcolm Butler play, to the great Gronkowski as a tight end, to Ronnie Harrison being a great safety, to Teddy Bruschi and that 3-4 defense with Richard Seymour. But all these guys, when they ended up leaving, you couldn't tell they weren't. Couldn't tell that they left a couple of years, even a year later sometimes. Like, they got rid of Brandon Merriweather was a Pro Bowler, and the year after they're in the Super Bowl against the Giants the second time. You couldn't even tell. Lori Malloy was released, and they went 2 in a row. No one even noticed Lori Malloy was gone. So all these things that happen with all the New England, it's just it was like basically those two guys. Everybody was disposable if you think about it. Gronkowski was injured. They win the Super Bowl when Gronkowski got hurt. Julian Edelman was injured. They were in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia, and people could say they could have or should have won the game, which I believe Philly played better than them. But that's not the point. The point is, like, you couldn't tell these guys weren't there, and it was because of those two guys, specifically Brady. But let's be reasonable. When you break up with somebody, be reasonable. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to my channel, AryaFreed675, and follow me on Rumble at AryaF26.